Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Sorry I have not been posting lately. I've been quite I'm gonna say distracted and busy at the same time, but I am back. So yeah, so you guys know me is I need some YouTube. I'm sorry I'm not gonna be showing the screen, but because I'm not really doing a reaction video, I'm not gonna show you guys the screen, but you're guys gonna hear like what's playing. I'm not gonna be showing you the screen just for like this disclaimer. I just need something to watch. I'm not gonna be just sitting here like staring at the screen, and it's weird for me, and I'm assuming it must be weird for you guys. So I'm just gonna follow that with my own disclaimer. Oh, there's a mess. Yeah. So if you do like this video, I have not done makeup for a long time. So yeah, so let's get started. I Before we start, yeah, I've been busy a lot of times, and I just been like taking a break off of I found the third article to the Dorothy Jane Scott case, so I wanted to study that case a little bit more, which I know it by heart, but I just wanted to record it and then go over it and then re-record it and then yeah, because I did the Honolulu Strangler, but I was being distracted of doing my makeup, so I had to ended up adding the Dorothy Jane Scott case, and that was the short Dorothy Jane Scott case, and so I finally found the note to it, so I'm excited to do that case too, and yeah, so let's just start with makeup. My face said, "Makeup me, makeup me, makeup me." So I'm listening to my face. I'm gonna makeup it, and yeah, so let's get started. I had everything near me. Yeah, I'm gonna go to my YouTube thing so I can. I'm the most dumbest computer ever. I like a laptop. Yeah.
This guy, I've never seen something like this. So I get to be away from live, really weird postures for his joining us late December. I don't know how this is going to end, but we're going to continue. Wait and see. And eventually, once we're going to have to do something a little bit different. We could be folks. This list is something we've never seen. Stop putting people's lives at risk. Alright, that's going to go a little bit in and out. Stay with us. Come on, Skybox, get that signal back. Get it back. Showing us this is what the suspects were doing. We'll speed on, and then a couple of minutes from now, we'll slow down all the way to a complete stop. Only to jump on that gas again.
Yes, Sky Fox.
Stay with us here.
Yes, Sky Fox, stay with us here.
All right, we got a bit of you now. Buildings around the way here. Sky Fox did a great job of keeping us
Keeping us posted.
focused here. Let's get that guy out of the way. He knows what's happening. Side roads now. You gotta say though, the suspect has not been doing anything erratic because he has been going so slow.
Nah.
So the thing for police chasing, you probably think direct opposite, someone that's coming in and out. So now here we go again. Stop it. Here we go again. This is what we've been seeing.
Why would the cops assume like when it stops, they assume like he's actually directly trying to stop? Stupid. Stay in your car until then. Until then. Until then.
Thank you to all of you who worldwide on News Now, but Phoenix.com. We really do appreciate you joining us here for the stop and go chase. That's what I'm going to call it, folks. The stop and go. The more the suspect continues to be on the run, the more he puts people's lives at jeopardy, unfortunately. So hopefully we'll be able to get this guy somehow, some way.
How's he putting somebody's life in jeopardy if he's not even driving erratically?
Looks like he might want to go and try to get back out on the highway there. Doesn't like these side streets. Did he stop in time? Well, that's half-ice. That's half-ice. Don't lose it now. There we go. He's trying to relocate him. He got back on the highway here, and Sky Fox just could not get it. What's going to happen next, folks? Will we see the police chase end, or will Sky Fox get lost? Here we go. We're back at it. We're back at it here for you. You just never know how these things are all going to happen, right? Well, we can't say no. The suspect is no. Something like that car right there. We just saw that. What we can say is the suspect really hasn't been too erratic. He hasn't been switching in and out of lanes. The only thing that's been doing bizarre is pull to stop on a dime on you that cause traffic headaches. Okay, wants to get off the highway now. So it's the stop and go on and off highway suspect here. All right. Here we go. And we continue on here on News Now. Thank you so much for joining.
9 to 5. That's when I found I'm breaking out all in my hairline, all throughout my face.
Now we're watching
and I
Bailey
cannot
Sarian.
pinpoint why I'm breaking out, and it never fails. As soon as like my skin's looking good, and I'm like, oh my god, my skin looks so good. Wow, I'm living my best life. The Lord humbles me, and I break out. Hi guys, how are you today? My name is Bailey Sarian, and today is Monday, which means it's Murder, Mystery, and Makeup Monday. If you are new here, every Monday I sit down, I do my makeup, and I talk about a true crime story that's been heavy on my noggin. If you like true crime and you like, no. If you're interested in true crime, I don't say like true crime because you shouldn't like it. You can be interested. If you're interested in true crime and you like makeup, I would highly suggest you hit that subscribe button. I'm here for you every Monday, and I'm also here on Saturdays as well. I appreciate you guys so much for your love and support. It means more than you know. I think I'm at like 367,000 subscribers. I know. What happened? I don't know. But hi, thank you. I love you. I appreciate you, and thank you for all your support. Before we get started, today's episode is sponsored by Sundance. Now, oh my gosh, last week didn't we talk about a lot of people who were in Michigan? Crazy, because today, sorry Michigan, John List. He was born in Bay City, Michigan, to his father, whose name was also John List. I'll just call him Father. He was a devout Lutheran and a Sunday school teacher. John List, the son, he also became the same thing as his father, so a devout Lutheran and a Sunday school teacher. In 1943, he enlisted in the U.S. Army and served as a laboratory technician during World War II. And then in 1946, he was discharged and he enrolled at the University of Michigan in Ann Arbor, and he earned his bachelor's degree in business administration. And then he got his master's degree in accounting. So this John List guy, if you haven't caught on, he's pretty smart. He seems to be really good with numbers. He seems to be all there for the most part. I mean, we don't really know. Everything's going well, right? Wow. Cool. In November of 1950, the Korean War escalated, and John was recalled to active military service. And then in Virginia, where he was stationed, he met Helen Morris Taylor, and she lived nearby with her daughter Brenda. I guess the two of them just hit it off. They fancied each other, and then they started dating. Not long after, they got married on December 1st, 1951, in Baltimore, Maryland, and the family moved to Northern California. Wow, a lot of moving, huh? It's always strange to me because, this is a side note, it's always strange to me because I've never really did a big move at all in my life. Maybe I should move more. Cool story, Bailey. Wow. So then, in 1952, John List had completed his second tour in the Army, and he then started to work at a paper company in Kalamazoo, which, side note, I had no idea Kalamazoo was a real place. Oh my god, Bailey, you're so dumb. I'm gonna visit. There's so much I need to learn, you guys. Anyway, so Kalamazoo, great, awesome, love that. So while living in Kalamazoo, that's where John List and his wife, Helen, kind of settled in a little bit more, and they started a family. So they had 3 children. In 1959, it seemed like the marriage was kind of going south. It's reported that Helen, she was an alcoholic. She was becoming just very unstable. She was angry. She was jealous, and she seemed to just take a lot of her anger out on John. Okay, so do you remember I said Helen had a daughter already before she got married to John, and her name was Brenda. So in 1960, Brenda married, and she ended up leaving the household, and the rest of the family ended up moving to Rochester, where John took a job with Xerox. A lot of moving happening, right? And a lot of different jobs.
Nazis. I don't care if it's Hitler's personal pleasure cruiser. It's the only ship that was.
I never did watch Hitler yet.
That's right, Captain.
Oh, weird.
Tell me about this rat. Simple as that, Captain. Oh, I think it's right. Okay. And what would you say those books? Yeah. Always. It's right with myself. No, I'm going to say. That's right. This tub's still crawling with rats. Whatever happened on this ship was a gremlins. Some of our mobile. These caskets on board. One of these things go down. Yes. Shapeshifters. They move by night.
Shapeshifters.
Every couple of months to 3 years. A few more. You know that I love finding better, easier ways to improve my life. But what you may not know is that I am a cat lover.
I stopped drawing for my freaking crease thing.
And I'm here to tell you that nothing makes
No.
litter box less of a chore than pretty litter. Pretty litter not
I
only
want to be right back
creates
with
a clean, pleasant home, it's made with convenience in mind. One bag like this lasts an entire month. Its lightweight and absorbent crystals trap moisture and eliminate odor, and it changes color to help indicate potential health issues, granting me a little peace of mind. There's never been a better time to experience a better litter box. It's cat-approved, veterinarian developed, and Martha approved. Try it risk-free today. Ships right to you for free. Head to prettylitter.com to try it for yourself and your cat's self. Pretty.
Jobs, but it seems like really good jobs, right? So then in 1965, he accepted a position at a bank in Jersey City. So again, he moved with his wife and children, and also John's mother moved in with him. But they moved into this Victorian mansion called Breeze Knoll. This Victorian mansion is so extra, like, wow. A 19-room Victorian mansion. It's beautiful, it's huge. I don't know what you would do with 19 rooms, would love to know. So, from the outside looking in, John seemed to be the perfect family man, right? And as we all know here, it's all a lie. To his coworkers and stuff, it seemed like he had this awesome life, awesome family, amazing house. But a lot of his coworkers would say that he was aloof. I love that word, aloof. That he was aloof, cold man, and he had little to no friends. People would say that John lacked social skills, and because of his lack of social skills, it was the reason as to why he jumped from job to job, because he actually was losing jobs. He was getting fired. A couple of times he got like a promotion, but it wouldn't last long. He just couldn't seem to like talk to people. Before everything went down, John would leave every day to go to work. You know, everyone thought he was going to work. So John would leave the house and he would go to the train station, and that's as far as he would get. He would go to the train station and then he would sit there and he would spend his day reading the newspaper. But really, John had lost his job. Instead of just telling his family that he lost his job, he was just like, I'm gonna go to the train station and just sit there all day reading the newspaper, just reading in general, and then I'll come home at the end of the day so I think I was at work. Great plan. John was doing this for a while, and like the stress was just building up because bills are due, and who pays the bills? John. Everything falls on him. He's just getting more and more stressed about this. And being honest, it's just way too hard for people, you know. So the mortgage was behind on payment, and then John finds out that the foreclosure process has begun. And John knew he was about to be exposed as a failure. He's been lying, and he needed to figure out a plan. And boy, did he make a plan. Kalamazoo Zoo. So get this. You ready? Buckle in, kitty cats. It's a wild ride. So on November 9th of 1971, the children had left. They had gone to school. Helen, John's wife, is sitting in out of the 19 rooms. I guess she's like sitting in where the breakfast room or whatever. You know, she's sitting there. She's having her coffee. John came up behind her and he shoots Helen in the back of the head. Once John knew that indeed his wife was dead, John headed up the stairs to his mother's room, Alma, who was 84 at the time, and she was living, they called it the attic. It was just like the top, the top room of this mansion, her own little area. John heads up the stairs to his mother's room. He goes into her bedroom and he shoots her right above her left eye. Now by this time, it's a little bit afternoon, and his daughter Trisha, who's 16, and his son Frederick, who is 12, they arrive home from school. And you guessed it, John sadly shoots both of his children in the back of the head. No works. Now at this point, John even later will say that, I'm sorry for laughing. Every episode, there's like a moment of just like, what the fuck, where I have to laugh. But here hear this. So John shoots his wife, his mom, and his 2 kids so far. And after this, he's like, you know what? I'm kind of hungry. So he goes into the kitchen and he makes himself some lunch, and he eats this lunch. How you eat lunch after just murdering your family, that's a different level of crazy. That's a level of crazy that I don't want to know. What? What? He made like a bologna sandwich. The hell are you doing, John? No. So once John had finished his lunch, he then drove to his bank and he closed both like his account and his mother's bank account. He also went into his mother's savings account, took out all of her money. Then John headed to Westfield High School, and this is so sad, but he watched his oldest son, John Jr., who was 15 at the time, but he watched him play in a soccer game. Yeah, again, this is a special kind of crazy. Once his son is done with the soccer game, he drove home with his son. They're just driving home like normal. And I guess John is just acting calm, cool, collected, like nothing happened, which is cool. John Jr. walks into the house, and then sadly, John shot him in the chest and the face. John will later say that he shot him so many times because this young boy had multiple shots, and the reason that he shot him so many times was because he tried to resist and he tried to run away. And John just shot him repeatedly until he was sure that the boy was dead. So I guess this was John's plan. Now, okay, like this is how sick some people are. And how? I don't know, you guys. This is what's weird. Like, this is the stuff that really just gets my brain so confused and wrapped up in all of this because it's like, what? How? Why? What? There's so many questions. So then John calls the kids' school and he tells them that they're going to be away for a while, so they're going to be absent and not to worry. Now, John considered himself a very religious man. So, after killing his whole family, he then sits down and he wrote a 5-page letter to his pastor after committing the murders, which was later found on the desk in his study. Now, on this 5-page letter, it was essentially a confession, and he explained he was attempting to save his family's souls because then it was the 1970s and he believed it became a very sinful time. John said that he believed his family was giving in to temptation, especially because his daughter came forward to John and his wife and said that she wanted to become an actress, and John viewed that occupation as corrupt and linked to Satan. Now, side note, I don't want anyone to think I am singling out religion at all and making it about that. Whether you agree or disagree, I'm not pointing the finger at that at all because I know that there are a lot of good people who have good intentions when it comes to religion and what they believe and all that stuff, and I'm not trying to get into that at all because I know a lot of people tend to think that I am trying to point the finger at religion, and that's like never been the case. I just kind of mention their life. Being Lutheran was like a big part of this guy's life, and his reasoning was that. Does that make sense? Because there's been like a couple videos of people like, you shouldn't make it about the religion. I'm like, I'm not. It's just played a big role in their life, and I'm talking about their life. Because again, there's a lot of good people out there who are in these churches or whatever religion, and then there are some bad seeds who ruin it for everybody. If you are Lutheran, I am not singling you out and saying your people are bad at all. I truly believe in my heart there's a lot of good people out there, and unfortunately, there's some bad ones, is what I'm getting at, okay? Thank you. Tell them a zoo. So,
we love free stuff, guys. We do. We just love it. If you guys want to go ahead and try Curology, all you have to do is pay shipping and handling, which is literally $5. You're getting these 3 fun little bottles right here for $5. This is my skin. That's it. Love a glowy vibe. We just love a glowy vibe. Thank you so much to Curology. I received this 3-step skincare set in the mail. The most important thing that I wanted to target is the dark spots that the acne leaves when it's gone, as well as uneven skin tone. At night, I make sure to take off my makeup.
So, John then put the bodies of his wife and his children in sleeping bags. I've also read that he put them on top of sleeping bags. Regardless, sleeping bags were involved. And then he moved them all to like the floor of the mansion's ballroom. When you walk into the front door, they were all right there based off the photos I saw. But he moved them all to the same room, the ballroom. He left his throughout the night, apparently. I think at some point he went to bed. The next day, when he woke up, he decided he needed to cut his picture out of all the family portraits in the house. The police did show up eventually one day, and they needed a photo for the wanted poster that they were sure going to draw up. They couldn't have a reference as to what he looked like and who he was, so he went through every single photo in the house, the photo drawer or whatever, and he cut himself out of every single photo. After doing that, John then turned down the thermostat in the house so it was freezing to preserve the bodies and also to prevent a smell from happening. Correct me if I'm wrong on that, but I'm pretty sure that's what it is. And then he turns up the radio, and then John just vanished. It took nearly a month until police were notified and the murders were discovered. It said this was mainly because the family really stuck to themselves. They didn't really socialize at all. They didn't really talk to neighbors. They didn't have friends. No one went to go check on them, you know? And then also, John sent letters to like the children's school stating that the family would be visiting Helen's mother in North Carolina for several weeks, and that the kids weren't going to be in school. He also called the school to let them know they weren't going to be in school. John had also stopped the mail delivery, newspapers, and milk deliveries. You see, back in the day, milk would be delivered to your front door. Wild times. John stopped all of that. Nobody's coming to the house at all. Now, the neighbors, though, they did notice that the mansion's lights were on day and night, like they never shut off. They also noticed like there was no movement happening from the house. They could hear the radio, they saw the lights, but they never saw people coming in and out. They never saw anything. And then finally, the neighbors say that the lights began to burn out one by one by one. So like the upstairs, downstairs, and like the lights were just going out. And once that happened, the neighbors finally called the police. Sometimes it's good to have nosy neighbors, you know. So the neighbors called the police, and then the police show up to the house. They knock, 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 and they're not getting any answer. They peek through the window, and guess what they see? That's when they see the bodies laying on the floor. So police go into the home, and they find all the bodies in the ballroom. Unfortunately, it took them a while to find the poor mother all the way upstairs, but they did find her. Then the police launched a nationwide manhunt. Police investigated hundreds of leads without any success. All of the reliable photographs of John had been destroyed or cut out, so they really didn't even have any idea of what this man could look like. And again, at this point, it had been almost a month. So this John guy, he got a pretty damn good head start. Police then found the family car, and it was parked at John F. Kennedy Airport in New York City. So police looked into, like, did he get a flight? Did he get a ticket? They could not find any evidence of John buying a ticket or that he boarded a flight at all. So they think that it's just a ruse. So it would take 18 years for police to learn what happened to John. 18 years. Here's what happened according to John and later reports. It said that John left his car at the airport, so then John had traveled by train and bus. He had traveled by train and bus from New Jersey to Michigan and then to Colorado. So then John settled in Denver in early 1972 and took an accounting job as Robert Peter Clark, aka Bob, which the name of one of his college classmates was Bob Clark, so it's believed that that's why he took his classmate's name. And John would say that it was like his friend or whatever, and then they interviewed the friend, the real Robert Clark, and the friend was like, I have no idea who that is. And then while in Denver, he joined another Lutheran congregation, and he ran a carpool for the church members. At one of the church gatherings, he met Dolores Miller, and he married her in 1985. She had no idea about his past life, that his real name was John Alden. February of 1988, the couple then moved to Midlothian, Virginia. I guess in every video I should have like word of the day and have it be a word that I can't pronounce or I mispronounce. Because every video, it's all already. Anyways, so the couple then moved to Virginia, where John and his new wife had lived, and John was now still using that same name, Bob Clark, which is so weird because he must have had to like come up with a bunch of paperwork, because how was he getting these good jobs? And then he just kind of went back to working as an accountant. So John may have like lived the rest of his life in freedom if it weren't for the TV show America's Most Wanted. Remember? Is that show still on? It should be, because it was pretty damn helpful. Because this show featured John and the family killings in May of 1989. On the show, they got a forensic sculptor to create a head, a bust, they say, showing what John most likely looked like. Now, when America's Most Wanted agreed to feature the John List case, it was considered at the time to be the oldest case on the program. John had been missing at that point for 18 years, so it was like slim to no chance of them finding it, but hey, it's worth a shot. And then they brought in the forensic artist, Frank Bender, and he's the one who created the bust, what John List would look like to this day, so he made him look aged. Frank Bender, he had great success in helping capture aging fugitives. He was the best of the best. Now, in order to create a bust of the aging John, Bender went or he consulted with the forensic psychologist in order to make a profile of John. His sculpture showed John with like a receding hairline, saggy jaws, and a pair of glasses. And Frank Bender's theory was that John would use glasses to disguise himself as someone more important than he was, which would be proven accurate. And it's nuts how good this guy is in case got up. So the show airs, and in Denver, Colorado, a couple was watching and saw the sculpture thing. When they saw it, they were like, that looks way too similar to our old neighbor. Their old neighbor was John. So when they saw this on the TV, they were like, pretty sure that's our old neighbor. So then they called a hotline that they leave on America's Most Wanted, and they give a tip. And with this tip, they were able to locate John. Now, when John was arrested, he was wearing the exact style of sunglasses that forensic sculpture had envisioned. And he looked just like it. It was great. On June 1st, 1989, John was arrested at the Richmond accounting firm after the Denver neighbor viewed the America's Most Wanted broadcast, and John continued to stand by his fake name, that he was Bob Clark, and he insisted that they had the wrong guy. He stood by that for a solid month. You got the wrong guy. My name is Bob Clark. Finally, John was faced with the evidence that they have, which included a fingerprint match with John's military records. And then, of course, the evidence that they found at the crime scene, which was more fingerprints and shoe prints and stuff like that. Hair's DNA. I mean, he lived there. On February 16th, 1990, my door just like closed on its own. Oh my god. Anyways, on February 16th, 1990, finally, John confessed his true identity. He was taken to trial, and John testified that he was faced with financial difficulties in 1971 after losing his job. Now, he didn't want to share this humiliating news with his family, so he spent each workday at the train station reading newspapers until it was time to come home. He ended up taking money from his mother's bank accounts to avoid falling behind on his mortgage, which eventually he just ran out of money in general. He goes on to say that he was dealing with his wife's alcoholism, and he really just throws her under the bus, saying that he was also dealing with her untreated syphilis. Now, this is what John says. By that time, her excessive alcohol consumption and syphilis had transformed her from an attractive young woman to an unkempt, paranoid shut-in. That's what John said. And he goes on to say that she would frequently publicly belittle John, constantly telling him that his sex performance was awful compared to her first husband's. John goes on to say that he killed his family to spare them from the humiliation of losing their home, and because he hoped they would go to heaven. Psychiatrists say that John never showed any remorse. He never cried. He never got upset. He never said sorry. Later during the trial, it was confirmed that John suffered from obsessive compulsive personality disorder, and it caused him to consider only two solutions to his little predicament. He could either accept welfare because he didn't have a job and he was struggling, or he could kill his family. There's no in between. John would go on to say that welfare was an unacceptable option because he and his family would be exposed to ridicule. He would be viewed as a failure, and accepting handouts violated his father's teaching. accountable for what happened. I ask all affected for their forgiveness, understanding, and prayer. End quote. Jeez. The judge was unmoved by this. He imposed a sentence of 5 terms of life imprisonment to be served consecutively, which was the maximum penalty at the time. In 2002, John did an interview with Connie Chung. Where's she at? She doesn't do that anymore, does she? And John was asked why he didn't commit suicide. Like, if you're gonna kill your whole family because you're embarrassed, why wouldn't you just kill yourself too, bro? John stated that he didn't want to take his own life because it would forbid him from his entrance into heaven, where he hoped to reunite with his family, which I think is such a crock of shit answer because murder is gonna prevent you getting into heaven. Come on, John, you're not thinking. Finally, March 21st, 2008, John died of complications from pneumonia at age 82 while in custody. Their old mansion was called Breeze Knoll. It was the home.
So, you guys, so this is the final look. I kind of like it. I got the black, this phone. So, if you guys did like this video, give this video a thumbs up or thumbs down, hit the subscribe button, and I'll see you guys later.